Welcome to the Monday tech update call for BrainDrive. BrainDrive is an ecosystem designed to power the user-owned AI movement. I'm Dave Waring, and I handle the operations side here. I'm a co-creator and handle the operations side here.
And I'm Dave Jones, the other co-creator, and I handle the tech side.
Awesome. So our mission here at BrainDrive is to make it easy to build, control, and benefit from your own AI system. If you're not familiar with our project, I've included a link in the description section with a brief overview that you should watch before this video. And for everybody else, we're going to jump into our update on technical progress over the last week, which we do every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. So, Dave, you want to take it away with a brief summary and then we can dive deeper?
Okay, yep. This week was a little different. Normally we're coding and doing all those kind of things, but we're gearing up to set up the GitHub, get that rocking so we can get other developers involved. So that was kind of the focal point of this week. A lot of work went into that, getting it basically lined up so other people can play with it besides just me. Going through the build processes, going through the dev processes, making sure that it follows the directions that, what you see, what you can do. So that was the pinpoint of the week. Did we do anything else? Um, I don't think tech-wise we did much else beyond that. Fine-tuning the app, played with a few different models on it, just those kind of things, but more focused to getting that done with GitHub.
Great. And are we live on GitHub or where are we at
It's
with in the
still
process?
it's all up right now. It is just simply in private right now. I was doing a once over this morning, just making sure, dotting some I's. There's always something to do, but figure after this we'll go live and I'll just fix in place.
Amazing. All right. So we said we were going to get live on GitHub as our main thing from last week, and
Yep.
we're about to throw the switch live on GitHub. So that's great progress. And so basically, where we're at right now is we want to have something to show developers
Hmm.
that basically shows the foundation of what it is, of our vision for what we believe a user-owned AI system should be. So
Yep.
this isn't a release that's ready for prime time.
Yep.
It's really a release that we can get into developers' hands. What do they like about it? What do they not like about it? What do they think of our vision as this is the foundation and having, a core that's MIT licensed and studio that you can build on top of it? And so that we can also start getting other people involved in iterating on our core interaction, which is chatting with your own AI system. So that's what we're
Yes.
working on first. And we have the bones of that in place, the ability to run local models that run on your machine, the ability to run the core system, which also runs on your machine, and also
Yep.
uh, this Dave's built this system based off of the same building blocks that every developer has access to. So no special sauce in the background.
Yep.
You built what we have right now with the same tools, and we plan to continue on doing that. Okay, great. So now I'll put up BrainDrive on BrainDrive.ai. I'll take the waiting list, like just standard waiting list, a copy down. I'm going to put up the new website that directs developers to the GitHub page to jump in and get started, and everyone else can still sign up for the waiting list for when it's
Yep.
ready for non-developers. Great.
Correct.
And so, for any developers that are watching the call, what do you want them to know about the system as they jump into it?
The key thing is probably comes down to architecture. Every other system that exists that I've seen so far dealing with AI are all built from the premises that I don't want to say the code's locked away because there are some that are open source and such like that. But to go in and actually make changes, first you have to fork it. Then you have to start making modifications and figure out how that system works. Then finally, you have to keep your forked project in sync with the existing one so you can take all the changes. And we alleviate a lot of that by if you simply want to focus on the workflow of your page or your plugins whatever you're doing, you can do so without ever worrying about me coming in and breaking something for you. You can keep yours extracted, separate, isolated in any capacity you desire. At the end of the day, the only thing that's a plugin, it's built to be decoupled. There's nothing that ties a string to the core at all, so that as you update the core, it just simply runs. and your plugins will continue running because we will painstakingly ensure that we are backwards compatible as we move forward.
Okay, great. And so basically, what would you expect, if you're a developer and you want to jump in? I mean, I think the first thing is we're looking for people who want to, own, build, and control their
Yep.
own AI system. So they kind of the chat GPTs of the world. We're giving up so much power and control to them. And then from a developer side specifically, what else you think is going to interest them about this system? You've talked about, the fact that because you own and control it, when we
Yep.
make changes, we're not going to mess you up, right?
Exactly. The second part would be the tech stack. If you're there's tons of little pieces that go to it. We've tried to select every component that is I don't want to say the most popular, but at least if you're into developing backends, you know how fast the API runs. Python, TypeScript, generally speaking, Vite because we've chosen to go that route. And the front end, we've chosen to go React using TypeScript, as I said a moment ago, and trying to keep things as generally development acceptable as possible without trying to hit any outlier technologies. Even if it might have been better, simply because of, for whatever reason, I'd rather take a few features that we had to do the long way and have overall acceptability versus some small little nuance and we went an outsourced way.
Right. So the first thing that we talked about goes to our pillars of ownership,
Yep.
right? Ownership and control. And then the second is freedom and empowerment, right? So we wanted to use generally acceptable, programming languages, et cetera, because we want to make it as easy as possible for developers to build on top of this system, and in the future, even non-developers. And so
Yes.
because you've used sort of the standard stack here, or a stack that, not only developers are likely very familiar with, but all the AI development
Yep.
tools are likely very familiar with, this gives you the freedom to build on top of this system, not just because it's MIT licensed, but because you're empowered to do that by
Yep.
the way that the system is constructed. And that's, a differentiator, obviously, between us and closed source systems, which you can't really build on or modify at all.
Yeah.
And it's also, when we looked at the open source community, which we love all the open source projects out
Yep.
there, they're all part of this same movement that we're fighting for user owned AI. But if there's a weakness in the ecosystem right now, we felt like it was a little too difficult to build on top of these systems. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Well, it's you take, let's say you have a vision that's different than some said developer, because the said developer, when they started coding, generally it was like they had an isolated idea what they were thinking about. Usually how it starts, and it's usually a weekend project. Somebody's wife gave them time to play around with computers, who knows? But they started coding something. By Monday, they had something that they were like excited about. And so rather than stop there, because none of us developers ever do that, we ride the excitement level going forward. None of us are smart enough to say pause. Let's do this right. We always go, oh my God, this is so good. This is going to be better than everything else. Let's go. And 6 months down the road, you realize, oh my God, I should have stopped. And it's just our habits. And so you have a piece of code now that only you know how the heart beats. Anybody else, not only do they not understand your mentality when you're developing it, they also have to go through everything. And we always scratch our heads when somebody else is doing something. It's like, why'd you do that? You should have did this. We're great armchair quarterbacks. And eh, what we've tried to do, the difference is from the word go, it's like, how much can we put into a module architecture so that if somebody sees me do something, they can come back behind and go, oh, I want to do this differently. And you can. You're just going to pull that puzzle piece out of the picture and put yours in. It's like even coming down to talking to Olama in the back end, I have built with being providers. Now, it's not designed or coded yet for you to install your own provider, but it's already been coded so that you can have your own provider sitting there and it's just waiting for me to finish that code up so you can install a plugin, have a unique provider towards whatever you want to do, not me, and you can go forward. And that's the entire premises behind this entire code base right there.
Awesome. And, in terms of empowering developers to start working with us or working on their own stuff that's completely separate from us on top of this, what do we think a good GitHub project looks like, and where are we at in terms of where we are today, in terms of what that GitHub project looks like, and where we want to be in terms of things like documentation, support,
Uh,
that type of stuff?
Um, I'd say we're in the infancy. Simply because as we talked even last week, this project is right now all grouped up into a single instance. Because it's the plugins are still tied directly close to everything, closer than I like. However, we don't. Once we get the install process down for plugins, so you can manage them, install them, uninstall them completely, we will probably stay right where we're at, and we'll work on documentation. That'll be a constant every week. Some piece of documentation will get worked on, tweaked on, improved, as this project grows. Then we'll reach that point when we will separate. All the plugins will go into one repo. The front end and the back end, which will be known as the core at that point, will get locked down and they will go in their own separate repo. And that way, when you install this from the word go, what will happen is rather than you see right now that our test plugins are there, you will get an initial bundle of plugins for every person to see initially. And this makes it easier for anybody in the world to check out, test it out really quick in 2 seconds flat. And then you'll be able to open up the plugin manager, see what other plugins are available, and then you can start to utilize and play with the system, um, at that point. So this is just going, GitHub is going to be a constant work in progress, much like the overall system. Every time I do something, it's going to be I code a feature or I fix something, I put it in place, do a commit, and then look for the documentation that it belongs to and update that. And that's just going to be a constant my life.
And hopefully other people joining in and helping
Yeah.
out, since it is an MIT licensed
Yeah, and
system that.
and and in vision, eventually, I'd like to see where the other people doing plugins, you simply have your repo. If you wish to leave them MIT, of course, you have your repo of where they exist. You can point to it in the system. The system will download it, will build it for you, will build it for that user, put it in place, allow them to use it, and this will enable the developer to continue development, to have versions. We can check on different version updates and stuff like that in the plugin manager, and users can then know without looking anywhere else, oh, this plugin has an update. Let me update it. They don't have to leave BrainDrive at all to do that. They just simply go.
Great. And so who are we looking for, if the like an ideal person that watches this video today and goes into the GitHub, like who are we looking for, and what are we hoping for that person, and what are we hoping for the project as a whole?
Well, initially developers, because you have to know how these systems work to right now, and that's where we're at. Because right now this works on my system, and that is completely worthless at the end of the day because everything I built here, it should work here. So another system, Windows, Mac, any flavor of Unix, install it. If there's an issue, just let us know because that's going to be the first hurdle. This thing going through maturity steps, to be installed on every system, and so that we can figure out the nuances. I only have Ubuntu. I don't have Red Hat or anything like that installed. So it's like that's where people come into handy because they have their own flavor of doing things.
So the first thing we're going to want is people to try and install this
Yep.
and let us know if it installs successfully for them, if they're able to get up and running and just launch the system and get into it, and what issues, if any, do you have with the install process, correct?
Yep, yep. Because once we get just a taste of maturity on the install process, then that's when we open because it'll already be open if somebody gets that far, and start playing with it. I know you're going to find issues. Let us know. It'll be our first list of what we start working through besides my normal roadmap of what I'm doing. So nobody's sitting here waiting for anybody. We're moving forward even before anybody does anything. And once we see the list, hey, we'll start knocking them out and making the system better. If we have, I'll call it an architecture difference of what somebody user wants, and hey, that'll be our first conversation of perhaps we find a better way to do something.
Great. So the first thing is install, see if it works.
Yep.
Second thing is look at the architecture of the system if you're a developer. If do you like it? Do you not like the architecture? Do you think this is a good foundation to build on top of for a user-owned AI ecosystem? Not a good foundation. Why? What would you prefer to see instead?
Yep.
Because we're not married to anything that we're doing here other than making it easy to build, control, and benefit from your own AI system. We're married to that mission, but how
Yep.
we go about that and the different tactics as we get more eyeballs on this, we're going to evolve that, consistently over time. Um,
Because yeah, to add that the win for every developer, especially if you're in AI, is what our similar goal is for that the user who has no tech skills whatsoever to have a system they can easily install, they can easily get up and running, and then they can easily develop a workflow that gets whatever mission they have in life accomplished, even if it's
right.
something as simple as a daily joke. They should
Yeah.
have the best joke possible, not some skeleton joke every time.
Right. From a system that they own and control
Yep,
instead of having to use a ChatGPT style big tech system. All right. So we've got the install process, have a look at the code. What do you
yep,
like about this? Mainly from a foundational standpoint, right?
yep,
Do you think we've made mistakes in terms of how we've chosen to build this? Do you think
yep.
it's good? Do you think it's bad? We're not precious about any of this, and we would much prefer that people give us their honest opinion than try and protect our feelings. Um,
Yeah,
all right, and in terms of like getting it up and using it, right? We're
yep,
really focused on the core interaction right now of chatting with your own AI system.
yep,
So that is, getting a local model up and running with Olama, correct?
yes,
um, and using it on your computer and don't even need an internet connection once everything is up and running so it can run completely privately. What do you like about that? What do you not like about that? Are you able to do it? Are you able to not do it? Are
yep,
you able to do it and there's things that you think we can improve, which we know there are?
yeah,
We really want to start with that core interaction first, correct?
yes, yes. This is, and from a developer standpoint, this could be considered a proof of concept, moving out of proof of concept and into testing and alpha beta, somewhere of that
Hmm.
nature. Because it's like we know there are issues. We're pretty good on the if you go by the 90s definition between an alpha and a beta, when you come out of alpha, you've locked down on what functionality you want, which we have. The only thing now is we are ironing it all out. We are getting the bugs cleaned up, and we're making sure that functionality works as expected.
Right. And so if you're a developer and you're like, hey, I want to build on top of a user-owned AI system
Yep.
today and offer something to my customers today or my people today, we're not there yet.
Yep.
That's our goal. If you're a developer and you're interested in user-owned AI and want to be involved at following the earliest stages, that's what we're here for. We're building in public, and we want to be transparent with this build process. Number one, because it is a user-owned AI system, so we want the community to develop around that. And number two, that we're hoping that we'll build a more robust and powerful system because there's many different eyeballs on this, and not just me and Dave.
Yep.
So those are really the three things that we're looking for right now: install process. What do you think of the foundation here in terms of our choices in architecture? And then number three, the core interaction and of chatting with your own AI system. What do you think we can do to improve that? Correct?
Correct.
All right. And then in terms of roadmap for us and what we're working on for this week, ideas on that?
Yeah, documentation, of course. I have already a PC set aside with an OS installed, and I'm going to go, that has nothing on it. And I'm going to see what hurdles I run into installing it on that system.
Okay.
And that's kind of, I just want to see if it's going to break from in that standpoint. I didn't have a chance to get to it so far. But the PC's over there. It's ready and happy to go. With that will come documentation because I want to actually document it, and I'm probably going to try to record it as much as possible. It is a new PC with nothing on it, so I'll have to get OBS or something on there so I can record as much of the steps to that as possible. Let's see. From there, I do want to get, as we've talked about, a second page so that people can start to see the differences of here's a chat page, which is very simple. I know it has issues, and in a perfect world, I would probably spend more time in perfecting that. But I think it's also good for anybody like a developer seeing that you can go from here on one side to here on the other side. And the application runs as smooth as it does on either side without the garbage involved. And so once I have two pages setting up there so people can see that concept in action, then we can start looking at finding bugs, killing them, and moving forward. And also, and then start focusing on the AI chat and getting that as fine tuned as possible.
Okay, so documentation, it sounds like, is the big thing for
Yep.
this week.
Yes.
And if I'm a developer and I go to the GitHub right now, am I
Yep.
going to be able to install this without
I
documentation, or are you going to
Yes. No. No.
need
Because no. The documentation to install this is there. I've
Okay.
already okay. No, I've went through basic documentation. It's all there. Or a little, it's better than basic as far as installing goes. When I'm talking about documentation, I'm talking about going into the plugin architecture, how plugins work, how they communicate with each other. I have the initial steps for that, but getting really fine tuned so that as developers want to play with this more, they have that knowledge sitting there, so they know how to communicate with another plugin on a page.
Okay, so it sounds like to me that three good things to work on this week
Yep.
are one, getting the documentation up on GitHub, which will be your primary thing.
Yep.
Two would be for me to I have all my machines here to
Yep.
install this and to get you a list of any issues that I'm having
Yep.
with the install process. And then three is for me to look at the chat interface, or both of us really,
Yeah.
and let's come up with a hit list of how we want to improve that core interaction, which is chatting with your own AI system.
Yep.
And that'll be our, first list of improvements, and really dialing in that chatting with your own AI
Yep.
system experience,
Yeah,
right?
because I have a list from not this weekend, but last weekend when I used the AI chat extensively for conversations dealing with over 50 responses back and forth. So I have a list already that I'm going to work from for cleaning that up. But yeah, everybody else is going to see different things. So their lists, will only just improve the overall
Okay.
page.
Can you send me your list so I can
Yep.
add it to the backlog?
Yep.
And then I think the fourth thing is getting some developers to look at this from, my network, et cetera,
Yep.
to go through the things that we just talked about. The people that even if they don't really want to do it, they'll do it because they owe us a favor. And
It's always nice
you
to have
know,
those.
yeah, and I think that before we like go and push this out into the forums and that
Yep.
type of stuff, like let's get some initial feedback from within our network.
Iron out the install process. So that
Yeah,
is, yeah, those kind of things. That's why I was like that
yes.
initial of anybody seeing this right now. We're focused on learning to crawl before we can walk, and then we will
Yeah.
learn to run.
And I think if we have feedback from five developers, for next week on the install process and the foundational components of this and what they think about our foundation,
Yep.
you think that's good?
That would be amazing. That
Okay.
would be because that is that huge step outside of, I'll call it my box, when you code in a box, which is basically what we've been doing for the past few months. Even though there's two of us, but we've been coding in a box with our our input is the only input.
Right.
And now since we're opening the box up, we want all the input as much as possible.
Yeah, so that way, and Monday's call of next week, I think unless we've come up with something that's, a major issue, we have a really good initial look at a roadmap.
Yep.
We know what the outstanding issues are from a limited set, a
Yep.
much, I mean, 400% or 500%
I was
more
about to say it's
people
not even
looking
limited
at
at that point.
it.
We've
Um,
exponentially grown.
yeah, and then I think we can put it out there,
Yep.
to the wider community, because we'll be going into that with eyes wide open. I don't if there's going to be issues, so I don't think we should hold off if there's issues, but I think if we can just sort of list out the things that are like obvious and known once there's a few more people looking at it,
Yep.
that'll help us, with credibility within the community, et cetera, and you'll have better documentation at that point in time. So that'll help as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. If I had to go on record right now, um, we'd probably ideally aim for probably 2 weeks to hit forums, natures, and like that, because that would give us time to the install works as much as possible. Iron out any little documentation issues on making the install work on multiple OSs. That weird things like that. I know the AI chat page. We can start the improvements there, because so that is a little better finely tuned and such like that. And with that will come probably a small recode of the dynamic page renderer. And that's so I want the page to display better. Right now it's a little quirky.
Okay.
That's my technical definition of it. It doesn't line up exactly as crisp as it does inside the BrainDrive Studio. And both of them should appear exactly the same. What you see is what you get.
Yep.
So I want to clean up that nuance right there.
Okay. So, let's revisit that on Monday then and
Yep.
kind of see where we're at. But, I think if we get, four or five more, five, I think we said five
Yep.
more developers to look at this, like, and give us feedback for this
Yep.
week, like, that would be a big win.
Yep. Anything beyond it sucks or it's great. Those are my
Yeah.
my two
Right.
least favorite comments. I don't care about it's great and I don't care about it sucks. I just want
Yeah.
it's like, hey, it worked up till this point. There you go. Let me know what that point is.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that seems very doable, and that'll be great. Cool. Anything else to discuss for today regarding the technical update?
Nope, that's good. That's exactly other way. If somebody wanted to take things to a third step, the visual editor of BrainDrive Studio, play with that a little bit, just see what we're missing, what you could see that's going to be necessary to accomplish any dream you have in your mind right now.
And what I
Um,
guess where do we want this feedback?
GitHub's that's what the issues. They can sit there and pound away at that. That gives us a very concise list to,
So submit an issue on GitHub,
yep.
basically.
Even if it's an idea, we have our community forums.
Yep.
Anybody if they want to be a part of the community and start, have a longer drawn conversation, we're there as well.
Yep, that's community.braindrive.ai. That's live
Yep.
now for you, for those of you who want to look around a little bit more and also post anything there. We love that. That's where we're going to have sort of the home base of the community. I think also if you're watching this on YouTube or basically wherever we post this, we're going to
Yep.
be monitoring the comments, etc. Within that. Probably good to get the Reddit forum going with this as well.
Yep.
So yeah, I would say, however you want right now, however
Yeah.
you want to get us that
Yeah.
feedback, whether it's a comment in any of the places where you're watching this or the GitHub or responding to an email that you've gotten from us, any of that is all fine right now. We'll go about making that process a little more official once we're at a different scale where it really matters.
Yep. Yeah. Once we get the initial feedback, we know it's installing consistently, and we'll start to structure things so the information coming in will be in a format where us to work off faster, better, and smoother so that we can
Right.
get results a little bit better fine tuned.
Great. Alrighty, so that's it for today's technical update. As
Yep.
always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, things that you'd like to see, hit us up wherever you're watching the video and we'll respond personally. And thanks for watching.
Thank you.